Yo, welcome back to the Science of Flipping podcast. I am your host, Justin Colby, and I actually am going to take this time to use this episode to define a couple terms that I believe are drastically being misused. I believe if you are looking at rental properties, it doesn't matter if you're a wholesaler, right? If you're trying to underwrite rental properties and sell them off to a landlord, or you're trying to buy them for yourself. I actually have experienced enough people misutilizing terms to the point where I thought this podcast episode could be, that could be focused on these four terms or so. In fact, I've also recorded a short YouTube video that might give you a little bit more in depth here. So this episode is going to be about cash flow, cash on cash return, NOI, and cap rate. The one I believe that has been misutilized the very most is cap rate. Cap rate, or capitalization rate, is really how it's defined. A lot of times should be used more in the commercial space. At least that's usually when it is used the most. But us single family real estate investors loved to use the term. And I wanted to give you some clarity here, as I really believe that there's, some misuse of this term. At the end of the day, why cap rate, I think, is being misused is because people are associating it with the cash that is in the property, which is more your cash on cash return. Cap rate really has to do with what you bought the property for. Okay. So it's really more about that. Now, why I wanted to find NOI first is because NOI is actually how you're able to calculate cap rate. So NOI stands for net operating income, right? But it does not take into account your mortgage or anything associated with your mortgage. NOI takes account all of the other expenses, such as insurance, property taxes, any vacancies, repairs, and maintenance you might have. You subtract that from your monthly rent, and then you'll actually have a monthly NOI for the rental. Right now, again, it does not include anything that has to do with your mortgage, right? So if you have $1,000 a month coming in and $500 a month is accounted for with maintenance, repairs, insurance, property taxes, and vacancy, and you've broken that out, that $500 a month is the expenses you're removing, that leaves you with $500 a month NOI. Now, that is useful when you're looking at multiple properties and what you're going to have as an NOI, because if you're comparing properties, like, is this rental better than this rental, or you're looking at multiple properties and you're going to buy one or two of them, then looking at your NOI is important. The reason why NOI doesn't have a use, or why you don't also subtract anything to do with the mortgage, is because mortgages can be different depending upon the loan that you receive, depending upon what type of property it is, right? So an NOI really is just straightforward expenses, not including your mortgage. Now, cap rate includes your NOI times 12 divided by your purchase price. Okay. So for example, if you have a NOI of $500 a month, you multiply that times 12, right? So you're going to have $6,000 a year divided by your purchase price. Let's just use, for example, you purchased a property for $100,000, right? And I'm literally going to take out my calculator. So I'm going to do $6,000 a year divided by 100,000 is a 6 cap. I don't know why I couldn't do that mentally. I'm doing this episode, so that's why I had to rip that out. So that's a 6 cap. Okay. Well, that doesn't include the fact that you might need to bring in more money for the remodel. It doesn't include whether you're putting cash down for the down payment. It doesn't include cash. It simply is saying, what is your NOI relative to what you are buying it at? And that is probably the most misused term that is out there. Okay. Again, what everyone tends to think about, and in my opinion, as a single family investor myself, I look at what is my cash on cash return most importantly. I take a look at the NOI. I, kind of look at what the cap rate would be, but I'm really concerned about how much cash am I putting in and what kind of return am I getting on my cash, right? So that is a much more simple formula, meaning the cash on cash return really is, how much cash have you brought into the property? Let's just say you bring in 20 grand down for the down payment and you put 20 grand into repairs, right? So you're into it for 40 grand cash. And then you go in and you actually reduce all of the expenses, right? All of the expenses are going to come out of this property, so that you can actually net out monthly what your actual cash flow is. So you're going to subtract your mortgage, your insurance, you're going to subtract maintenance, repairs, any vacancy that you might have, and then you're going to have a number, right? That number, let's just use as $200 a month. I personally wouldn't buy a rental that didn't bring me back $200 a month, right? It wouldn't make any sense, right? That's kind of my threshold. So I'm bringing in $200 a month. You times that by 12, right? So now you have $2,400 a year coming in, and you divide it by $40,000. Remember, that is your $20,000 that you put down and the $20,000 that you had to do in repair. So again, for the sake of not having to think through this, I have $2,400 divided by 40,000. So another 6 cap. Okay. And by the way, I just misused the term as I did this, as I was talking right now. It's not a 6 cap. It's a 6 cash on cash return. And that what I just did was actually highlight how interchangeable people are using these terms. And it's just not accurate. Do most people understand what you're talking about? Yes. But if you're going to be wholesaling properties to a landlord investor like myself, if you are going to be buying them for yourself, then you need a firm understanding of the difference in these terms, right? So, and then you kind of have this all-encompassing, just in general cash flow, right? What is my cash flow? Well, then you just take what your monthly rent is, you subtract all expenses. Like I said, mortgage, property taxes, insurance, vacancies, repairs, maintenance, and property management, if you have any. And then you have $200 a month in cash flow. That's not cash on cash return. That's just your cash flow. Every month, I'm bringing in 200. So when I look at a deal, when I'm looking to buy a deal, I'm saying, okay, I need at least my cash flow to be $200 a month. That is actually my requirement, right? Then I would go in and I would say, okay, well, I want to make sure in terms of cash on cash return, I'm north of 6%, right? I want to be closer to 7, 8, 9% cash on cash return. Now, this goes into leverage, which can be a part of this discussion. If you are looking to buy a rental property, all cash, you're not going to have a great cash on cash return. I would encourage you to leverage. Does that mean your cash flow will be reduced? It does, right? Because you have a mortgage to pay and you have interest on that mortgage. But your cash on cash return is better. And then you can go buy another property, and leverage allows you to buy more than one. So I'm a fan of leverage if done the proper way, right? And so then you look at the NOI again. And lastly, you can kind of look at your cap rate. And the reason why I did this is because I found myself talking with individuals who kept talking about their cap rate, and I needed clarity because I believed they were misusing it, and they were misusing it, right? So my net operating income, the NOI part, is all those expenses except for my mortgage. So it can be important. It can have some utility, but really for me as a buyer, someone that's literally looking to buy properties, I'm looking at my cash flow. Do I get $200 a month or more? And then I'm looking at my cash on cash return. The NOI and the cap rate are nice. There's some utility there, especially when you're looking at multiple properties, right? If I'm looking at 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 properties, I just bought a portfolio of 9 properties, actually. So when I looked at them, I looked at what properties made better NOI, where were we bringing in the most money per property. And then, kind of took a look at my all-in cap rate, right? Which is more about where we bought it at. I bought 9 properties for $1.35 million. And so I took my NOI and multiplied it by 12, divided it by that 1.35, and we ended up around an 8 cap. That is a good buy. End of story. Anyone should buy that. So this episode is very much about how you need to be looking as a wholesaler or as a landlord. You need to be looking at properties, right? A, you'll sell those properties way better if you understand how to underwrite them. And B, you're going to be able to, buy properties better, right? At least you know my buy box, which maybe you can utilize for your buy box. Guys, if you are not yet watching these videos over on YouTube, go to youtube.com/Justin Colby, subscribe to my channel. Make sure you give me some likes there on YouTube. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos pertaining to real estate and real estate education, whether it's wholesaling, flipping, buying, rentals, or otherwise. Make sure you go over, subscribe, like the videos, go on a binge watch with those videos, watch them. Hopefully this episode really helped you guys out, at least for these 4 major terms, and gives you clarity. I have another video on YouTube that I just shot that is a little bit more concise and shortened. That also might help you there, right there on YouTube. So I look forward to talking to you guys on the next podcast episode. Peace.